Good evening, friends. I'm so glad that you made the decision to join us for another Thursday night. Thursday nights are easily my favorite night of the week. Thursday nights is where we gather in homes, where we gather around a table, when I gather with my very best friends, and we talk about life, and we talk about Jesus. And so there's no other place than I'd rather be on a Thursday night than with my people. And so thank you for making the decision to join us. Last week, you had a unique experience, right? You did the meal exercise. And if you're honest, some of you thought that was a little weird or a little awkward at first. It was a little strange. And you were like, what is going on here? Matter of fact, I've heard some stories from people. They were like, oh my gosh, we got into the middle of it and it felt weird and we didn't know what to share. And then, as you begin to settle in, I heard that you guys had some of the very best experiences bonding together, celebrating a meal and what you have in common in Jesus. And so it was intended to be challenging because we wanted you to experience a different side of gospel fluency. The exercise is designed to help you recognize how compartmentalized your life is. You see, all of our lives are compartmentalized. And so on one hand, what you have is the sacred. And on the other hand, what you have is the secular. And we don't want our sacred worlds to intersect with our secular worlds. And so what are some things that are sacred in our lives? Some sacred spaces. The first thing that comes to mind is going to church on Sundays. That's a sacred space. That's a sacred time. Those people that you see at church or at community group, those are sacred people, right? The Bible that you read, that is a holy Bible. It is a sacred time when you open that up and you read it. And so we have our sacred life, or you might even call it our spiritual life. And then we have everything else. And so the everything else is what we call the secular life. And so that's in a different compartment. And so in that compartment are things like our vocation, what you do for a living, our hobbies, what we do for fun, our friends that aren't church friends and church people. And so we have all of these other things that are in this other side. And what we end up doing either intentionally or unintentionally is there is like this barrier between the two where we don't let the two kind of come together. And so we have this compartmentalized life. But what if life wasn't meant to be compartmentalized? What if Jesus wanted to be in every area of your life? And we know that He does. We know that Jesus lives inside of us, that as a born-again believer of Jesus, that He has, by His Spirit, entered into you, that He has taken up residence inside of your being. And so everywhere you go is sacred space. There is nowhere that you go that where you are not bodily present that is not a sacred moment ready to be made. And so every moment should be sacred. And so there should be no barrier. And that's actually what we see in Jesus' ministry in the Gospels, but oftentimes it's not what we experience. One of the keys to becoming a gospel-fluent people is to break down this barrier and to recognize that every location, conversation, celebration, and vocation is meant or a means for the sacred to break in to the secular. So gospel fluency, what it does is it breaks down that barrier. Because you'll remember our definition, right? Gospel fluency is being able to articulate and apply the gospel to all, emphasis on all of life. And so if the gospel is going to be present in everything, that barrier has to be broken down. And so over the next few weeks, we're going to learn how Jesus lived out what He believed in the regular rhythms of life. And we're going to discuss what that would look like for me and you, how we might live that out, and how our families might live that out, and how our communities might live that out together. So the 5 rhythms that we're going to look at are, they're present in every culture throughout all of history, And so they're universally applicable. And so what you could say is that God designed society with these 5 rhythms. And so these are the foundational or fundamental building blocks of every culture. And so it's these things that actually build communities and take people from isolated individuals to a community of people. And here are the 5 rhythms. They are eat, story, celebrate, bless, and play. Eat, story, celebrate, bless, play. Each of these rhythms is already present in your life currently. You already enjoy lots of meals. You already celebrate lots of things. You already spend time enjoying or playing. You spend time blessing people and celebrating and sharing your stories and conversating. And so these things are already very well present and embedded in your life. But what you may have missed thus far in your journey through life is that these are all opportunities to both worship and to share the hope and love and life that you have found in Jesus. So our goal here is not to add more things to your calendar. No, but to let Jesus be present in more of the things already on your calendar. And so I'm going to turn this conversation over to your discussion group leader as we discuss this first rhythm, eat. And I'm just believing that if you will take this principle, if you will sit with it, if you will recognize that you eat 21 times a week, and that each of those meals is an opportunity for you to encounter the sacred, for Jesus to be present, that it's going to change your life. And so I just want you to open up your mind, open up your heart right now to what may be possible if you would allow the sacred to smash the barrier and flood into every area of your life. Have a great night.